Welcome back to the Market Authority Show. Stephanie Lugo here, your host, and I am joined by Karen Ann. Karen Ann is the Market Authority Success Coach and a producing agent out in Georgia. Karen Ann, I'm so happy to have a conversation with you today. How's it going?
Well, I am so happy to be here. Of course, we are BFFs in real life. So I am super excited just to chat on a recorded line and let people be a fly on the wall because I always feel like we have the best conversations.
We do. We get to have a lot of really interesting conversations because you're selling in Georgia, I'm selling in Phoenix, and we both obviously get to see so much of what agents in the Market Authority Academy are, the coaching program are doing every single day, and what they're working on in their areas, and what's not working so well, and maybe what we would do differently if we were in their shoes. And so I'm kind of looking at this conversation as how are we going to continue to thrive in 2025 as business owners, as moms, as real life people trying to do the dang thing. And so I'm excited to see where the conversation takes us. And the first part I want to talk about is a question that actually came up recently on Instagram. And I feel like you and I have the exact same mindset on this. And the question that was asked was motivation and consistency. How do you show up and stay consistent, even when you're not motivated or on the days that you just don't feel like doing the dang thing? Have you felt that way recently?
Yes, I have. I mean, to be totally frank, in the past 6 months, my family has been sick 6 times,
Mhm.
which is insane, right? Like we've anything that anyone has had, we got it in our house. And so sometimes it looks like, okay, well, you just have to be sick and you just have to like be in it, in the thick of it, right? And then when you are and let's say it's not sickness. Let's just say it's like a lack of motivation, right? Like when you just are like, I'm tired, or it's sunshiny for the first time, in a while, or
Yeah.
whatever it is. I think it all boils down to, in my opinion, two things. And one of them is kind of a lie, but I'm just going to roll with it. So the first thing is having like systems in place so that I know what I need to do as a bare minimum every single day. And the other one is balance, right?
Mhm.
Which is it's kind of a lie, right? Balance is real, but it's not all at the same time, right? Am,
I
am I
think
right
people
about
don't know
that?
what balance looks like.
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
what's so interesting is I have not worked through this theory, but
Okay.
I'm gonna do a trial by fire with you right now.
Okay.
Balance is like a house.
Okay.
Okay. Our work life balance is like a house. Our whole life is the house. Everything that we care about is under the roof. It's our family, and that's in the living room. And the business is in the home office. And our health is in the kitchen. And our quality time, like the most important relationships might be like in the bedroom. Okay. But like, whatever that needs to look like for you. But it's a house. And the point is, it's all under the same roof. And you do have different things happening in different rooms. And you can shut the door. And sometimes, even when you shut the door, like before we started recording, you can hear the toddler screaming in the other room,
Yeah.
right? Like we're doing this podcast recording. This is work. This is office door is shut. This is mommy's focus time. And my 2-year-old is with the sitter having the time of his life playing downstairs.
Mhm.
It's in a different room. I can't see it right now, but I can still hear it. And
Mhm.
so that to me is still balance. Like there's still going to be some crossover, and sometimes we'll go a whole week not walking into the office because we're sick and we're just like in the other rooms trying to take care of everybody. But the work is still there. It's just we're choosing not to go into that space at that time, but it's still going to be under the roof. It's not like it's happening in a different part of town.
Mhm.
And like I think that we have to get really comfortable with knowing that balance and motivation and consistency, everything is still happening under the same roof, but there's other people involved
Mhm.
all the time. There are things happening without our control. Sometimes You might find that you need a little bit more insulation because you can really hear a whole heck of a lot, or you need to put in your headphones if you
Mhm.
don't want to hear what's happening in the other room. But I think that we have to like stop assuming that balance happens in echo chambers in completely separate areas. You know what I mean?
Actually, that makes a lot of sense. I like this analogy. You did great.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, no, that makes sense. As I'm processing it, yeah, that I don't have toddlers anymore, but we do have an open concept house.
Mhm.
So while my kids are not screaming in excitement because they're having fun with the sitter, they're screaming in excitement because they're playing Fortnite with their friends, right? So it's just a little bit different. Um, yeah. And so that brings you back to okay, well, if we can still kind of hear and, it's still sort of in the same house, how can I make sure that I'm showing up for every facet of my life, right? And so then that brings me back to systems, and that is for literally everything, right? I have a system for Sundays to prep for the week, right? Like we're having a family meeting. We are cleaning the house. My kids have a chore list that they have to complete so that they're prepped for the week because mom can't do everything, right? I cannot be a business owner and a household consultant and the laundry person and the house cleaner and the taxi. Like it's too much, right? It's just too much. So I think for me in the place of life that I'm at, I want to delegate as much as I can, automate as much as I can, and then show up really well where I shine.
Mhm.
And I think that leads to I like going back to the motivation. I think that leads to motivation because when you feel good about something, you're motivated to show up there, right?
Can I add something that you missed though?
Yeah. Yes.
You missed a really important one, which is eliminate.
Okay. So you're right, but I also struggle with eliminate.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. And actually, I have been really working on myself this month, and I have been eliminating what doesn't fit and what doesn't feel right anymore, doesn't feel aligned anymore, doesn't feel authentic to me, that drains me.
Yeah.
Right. Eliminate is really important here.
Yeah, because you can be motivated to
Mhm.
do all the right stuff, but if you're also trying to get a lot of the wrong stuff done, it's going to cause friction. It's
Mhm.
going to pull you off track,
Mhm.
right? Like for me, I am very motivated to spend hours of time on TikTok.
That's true.
I am deeply motivated to be hanging out in spaces that really don't serve me, right? And so I have to create like again systems or guardrails to kind of protect my time and bring me back in track. And I think that like on the days when I'm not motivated to do this stuff, it's like, is it in alignment? Do
Mhm.
I have to be doing this thing to push my life or my goals forward? And
Mhm.
if so, then we're no longer talking about motivation. We are now talking about discipline,
Mhm. That's
right?
true.
So like one thing that really worked for me, not worked for me, but forced me into discipline is like becoming a mom. Right. And I'm still learning all these lessons because as you said, my kids are younger. I'm still, although I don't know if you ever stop learning the stupid lessons,
No.
but
No, I don't think
no.
so.
But I had to get really, really comfortable with discipline. Like my day today is stacked. I know yours is too. Had horrible sleep last night. The kids woke up way too early. So even when I didn't get good sleep because of them and everything else, like I didn't even get to sleep in just a little bit. My kids woke up like way earlier than they typically do. And there's literally no margin today.
Mhm.
And so like I have to have discipline, like the stuff still needs to go on. I am
Mhm.
not going to be doom scrolling first thing in the morning. I have to like make sure I get my day right starting from the first moment.
Mhm.
Right? So there's motivation because you do want to see like the fruits of your labor. But I think
Mhm.
there's a couple things that go into it. Do you know that you're doing the right things?
Mhm.
And are you setting yourself up in an environment to get those things done? Or is your house a mess and you're tripping over laundry, figuratively and and literally
Sure.
on the way to the office trying to get your stuff get you know what I mean? So I think that it's a large conversation, but it's something that requires a little bit of nuance and it's going to look different for everybody.
Yeah, that makes sense. The other thing too is like skill set. Do I have the skill set
Mhm.
to do this? So um if you start talking about like your day and your work day after you've, tripped over the laundry to get there, and you're going out and you're like, okay, it's time to generate some business because at the end of the day, this feeds the kids, this gives us the lifestyle, this, makes our world turn. Do we have the skill set? Um, I know that you and I do, right? But do we have the skill set to do what we need to do?
Mhm.
Right? How do we make sure that we are improving our our lead conversion? Um, how do we move someone through the sales funnel,
Mhm.
right? How do we get someone from first and foremost generating that lead, generating the business, to then, okay, well, we've got to warm them up and warm them up and warm them up. And then, okay, maybe now they're ready to go, right? Like that also takes a certain skill. It takes discipline. It takes motivation to get there. But at the end of the day, what do we actually say and do to bring home the bacon?
Yeah. Yeah,
You know?
you know what's so funny about that conversation is so many real estate agents in 2025, and I know you're seeing this, but especially since I would say since 2023, real estate agents are realizing they don't have the right skills, scripts, and systems to thrive in a correcting market. And I think at first, like the first 6 to 12 months of the market correction at like 2023 into 2024, I think a lot of agents were kind of like crossing their fingers, hoping things would go back to like how it was before, where it was a low interest rate environment and it was easy to sell homes. And when that didn't happen, they start looking around and they start noticing the gaps in their skill set. And they're like, I don't have the right scripts. I don't know what I'm saying. I don't have the right method or the right systems, I guess, for lead generation. And when that causes a lot of friction and it's really hard and you're overwhelmed and you're uncertain, of course you're not going to have motivation. So what like let's talk about that lead conversion because if you know what to say to a lead every single time, you're always going to be motivated to work
Mhm.
because it's going to feel good and you'll feel proficient. What's working for you right now in your business when you're working with clients?
I think I think first and foremost, I have to show up authentically as me. Like if I am trying to follow a script, it is going to sound like I'm trying to follow a script. Hello. Hi, I'm Karen Ann. Were you thinking, did you ever end up finding that? I don't know. It does not go well for me, right? So I have to just show up as me, authentically me. Hey, this is Karen Ann. Let's say I don't know someone, right? Because I'm getting a lot of that right now. For some reason, I guess the spring market just has everyone kind of popping up, and I'm just like, "Hi, tell me a little bit about your story. Tell me a little bit about where you are on the journey," which of course I learned from you, right? And I think for me, I've had to tell a lot of people no. And
Mm.
not like, "No, I'm not willing to work with you," because of course I'm happy to work with anyone. But I think sometimes it's just not the right time, and I don't know, in the past couple of weeks, I have just had to tell people, "It's not your time right now. Are you sure?" Or verifying, "Are you sure?" I had a call yesterday on the way to the baseball fields, and I had one of my kids in the car. At this point he's 12 and he's like, "Okay, I know how to be quiet. I can sit here and listen to mom." And I got on the phone with someone and they were interested in one of my listings, and it's an investor kind of flip situation. So it's not necessarily for a first-time home buyer, right? And so I started asking questions. Well, tell me a little bit about like what you're thinking? What's your journey? Do you have money to put into this house? What do projects look like for you? That sort of thing, right?
Mhm.
And at the end of the day, I said, you know what? I don't think this one's going to be a good fit for you. I think the one that you want is out there, and I am happy to help you find it, but I don't think it's this one. And I got off the phone with him and he, I'm just down here in the Bible Belt. So he's like, "Oh, thank you so much for telling me and not making me waste my time and God bless you and you're amazing." And I get off the phone after telling this guy, like, "Hey, this one's not it. It's not your time." And he's just like singing my praises and my son looks at me and he goes, "Wow, mom, you're really good at that."
Oh my
I
gosh.
know. I was like, that's the best compliment. But I think he heard me ask questions
Mhm.
and listen to the answers and
Who
respond.
knew?
I know. It's not about a script.
Yeah.
It is quite literally asking the right questions and active listening,
Mhm.
which I think we're maybe losing as a society, the art of listening.
Mhm.
I hate to say that, but I think if you listen to what someone has to say and then you can contribute back without going, "Oh, I've got to tell you this one thing, before I forget." But like actually listening to what they are concerned with or what they're focused on and then being able to give them a response with authority and with authenticity, I think that goes so much further than a script.
I like that a lot. I When I think of scripts, I think of them as conversation starters. So like tell me the story, or last we spoke that this was the case. Is that still what's happening? Right? Just really simple conversation starters. And then I do agree. I think that if you are ever concerned with, if that is enough to stop you from starting the conversation because you think that you're not going to know what to say. If you don't know what to say, then you haven't asked enough questions.
Mhm,
And I think that's a really important distinction between feeling mastery in your role as a real estate agent.
mhm,
Because I think a lot of times we assume that feeling mastery means that we have to know the answer to everything. And instead, I think that feeling mastery means that we know that we can be resourceful enough to figure anything out.
yes, I love that.
I think that is the biggest mindset shift that has been needed since 2023, because prior to that, we were just facilitating. We
Mhm,
were literally just reacting to whatever was in front of us, and we didn't have the opportunity to show mastery at any part of the sales process, and
mhm,
especially lead generation, lead follow up, lead conversion, because it was moving so fast that we had to facilitate as quickly as we could. And that forced us to skip over so many steps. And now, when the typical transaction is going to be 6 to 12 months long, not the actual escrow, like not the pending, like contract to close process, but helping a client figure out if now is the right time, that is going to require so much lengthier of a conversation than we've had before. And when I got into the business, it was 2014, 2015. That was typical. Like, we had a lot of first time homebuyers entering the market, young millennials who were reeling after a
mhm,
terrible housing crisis.
yeah,
And a lot of them had lost their homes due to the shady lending practices that were happening right prior to that. And I was one of them. Like,
mhm,
my family, we had our home foreclosed on when I
mhm,
was 12 years old or something. Wait, something around there, 12 or
okay.
14, whatever that was. And I guess I was closer to 16. And I mean, like, obviously, I've blocked it all out because it was a
Right.
terrible experience. And I carried that getting into real estate. And I think a lot of people did, and a lot of people still do, because I still hear it like, oh, now isn't the right time because the market's about to crash.
Yeah.
And it's like you don't have to just it's not about the right timing for everyone, it's the right timing for you. And I think
Right.
that allows us to build a much more authentic business
Yes, I agree.
because
I
we're
really
not just going for the sale, you know?
right, right, and so when you talk about building an authentic business, how do you how do you do that? like, how does it authentic to you, right? So, like,
Mhm.
how do you balance that taking care of clients and also kind of working on the business to grow without the burnout, right? And then, like, showing up in a way that makes sense for you and the stage of life that you're in and for your clients and the stage of life that they're in, right?
Yeah. I think it's a lot easier to look at it from this perspective of just like, what does the actual service mean? Like, how are we building an authentic business? Well, we're creating a service that's going to support a client wherever they are in the life cycle of homeownership. And that is going to remove a lot of the pressure from you and from your clients because then you suddenly, honestly, are leading with the approach of active listening, right? And you don't feel as if you need these like really heavy scripts and you understand how to have an actual conversation. But what's really interesting about that is when you have that approach is you don't feel like you need to just be copying what other real estate agents are doing.
Right.
And I think that that's what's been happening a lot. I think we've been seeing a lot of agents who aren't understanding, who are struggling with what they're missing to rise to the occasion. They're
Mhm.
struggling with those skills and systems. And
Mhm.
when they're in that space, they're looking around to the highlight reel of social media. And so they're just kind of doing what they see other real estate agents doing.
Yeah.
And they're whether it means like swipe and adapt, copying what they see on social media, and they're just posting the same stuff that they feel like they're supposed to post, or they see these other agents like dropping a lot of money on like Flowdesk templates or whatever, and they feel like they need to be buying Flowdesk templates because that's what everyone's talking about. But
Mhm.
when you actually focus on building an authentic business and thinking about how you can really help clients wherever they are in the journey, it allows you to build a business that feels like you, not just like built on imposter syndrome,
Yeah.
you know?
That's so true. Oh, yeah, absolutely. No, I agree. I mean, I also think I also think you're right, it was easy. I keep saying that, like, "Oh, it was so easy," and I get used to the easy. Ugh.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
got used to, like, people going, "Hey, do you have time to work with me?" And so I'm sort of having to, like, flip the script on myself a little bit, right? Like,
Mhm.
"Hey, remember when you used to generate business? Hey, remember when you used to, like, work on building relationships?"
Mhm.
You know, that sort of thing, and, "Hey, remember when you used to, like, at all costs, you know, like, show up on social media or, like, build a Facebook group or, you know, any of the things that you've dropped because it got busy and it was easy to get business?" Then it's like, "Hold on a second. You are more than a facilitator, right?
Mhm.
Like, you have a business here, and if you want it to thrive, you have to do the work."
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
That was a really big, moment for me, and I am disappointed to say out loud that I just started kind of putting that together about a month ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, like, I was doing the things, right? Like,
Because I saw you doing the things too. So it's surprising to hear you say that from the outside looking in, but maybe it's more like connecting the dots and having more intention behind the energy behind it. Is that kind of what you're
right.
saying?
Maybe so. Yeah, I think for me, I was just going through the motions and I was just doing the bare minimum.
Yeah.
Right? So, yeah, I was doing the things, but they were bare minimum things.
Yeah.
And so I'm getting bare minimum business because of the activity that I was doing, right? And so it's amazing to me when I go like, "Oh, you could be doing a little bit more." And 3 weeks later, my business is exploding,
Yeah.
and I'm like, What was I doing?"
Well, it's so funny because we see that happening in market authority every single
Right.
time we have agents join, right?
Mhm.
And like we'll see them join. So there's one member specifically on my mind right now, and she's joined, and she's a very seasoned realtor. been around the block, but has never really been super intentional about putting systems in place. And then we're watching her wins as she's showing up on the calls every week, where she's like, got another escrow, got another client. And I'm like, hey, like send a little bit of that
Mhm.
deal dust over here. But it's not like magic and it's not deal dust. It's just being really strategic and intentional and following the right steps rather
Mhm.
than letting like other busy work or just waiting for the business to come to you. And it just happens like magic. That's one of the coolest things about real estate, I think.
I think so too. And, I used to never like believe it. And I'm a second generation real estate agent, right? And so I've always heard real estate is a numbers game,
Mhm.
and never really understood what that meant. And I don't have like a better phrase for it, but I don't think that's the phrase.
Mm.
I think real estate is about it's going to give you what you give it, right? So like if you move forward with intention on doing the right things
Yeah.
to move, so
Because it's not an energy in versus energy out.
no, no.
Because you can spend, and I think that's what's really frustrating for agents. And we were just talking about this because they will put in 70-hour weeks and they will be trying all the things and they will be literally burning the candle at both ends on their way to burnout. And then they'll see nothing from it.
Mhm,
And it's so demoralizing when that
mhm,
happens. And then when you see another agent like jump along and they're
mhm.
doing a couple of really intentional things and their business explodes, you're like, why are they getting the business when I have been working so hard? I deserve it. It's like, it's not about what you deserve, it's about how strategic and intentional you're being about connecting with the right people.
Yeah. I mean, I used to spend hours on Canva creating graphics that were going to go on social media, which is great. Like, don't get me wrong. I definitely like try to post on social media every day.
And you like to do things with excellence as well.
I do, and aesthetic.
Mhm.
Okay. But, but when I realized that designing things on Canva doesn't actually get me paid, that I would be better spent, back in the old days, I would be better spent taking my kids to the park
Mhm.
and talking with people or going on play dates or going on a walking date, whatever it is, that is better time spent than building Canva graphics because it gets me those connections. But I don't it's like what comes first, the chicken and the egg? Because you also have to have that skill set that we talked about to be able to like actually talk to people and know how to have those transformative conversations where someone will go, oh, I was thinking of someone, let me refer you. Or, oh, hey, remember that conversation we had a couple of weeks ago? You really like sparked my appetite and now I think I need to sell my house, right? Whatever it
Yeah.
is. Um and so anyways, I think that we need to focus on, what really actually moves the needle forward in your business. What would you say are some key priorities that agents need to focus on?
I think you have to be like putting yourself in a position to have more real estate conversations. I think that so many real estate agents overthink the how and the approach and the strategy. And you do have to be intentional, but let's not get lost in the details and the weeds. If you're not having conversations with people, you're not going to be developing your skill set and you're not going to be creating opportunities.
Yeah.
And agents want things to be perfect. That's what I'm seeing in the coaching. They're waiting for the conditions to be just right. They're waiting to have gathered enough information. They're waiting to have learned all they need to learn about. And you'll never know enough.
Mhm.
But they're doing it almost as a like defense mechanism from actually getting in front of people and having conversations. And I think somewhere along the way over the last several years, so many professionals have retreated from having belly to belly conversations.
Yeah.
And a lot has changed in the world, right? And I think that we can recognize that and like be gentle on ourselves and like recognizing why things are how they are. But the people who are winning right now are having conversations. They're getting based, like you said, Like they're having the walks, they're having the coffee dates, they're meeting new people, they're having conversations, they're connecting like a real person. And I think that a lot of people like the social media is really helpful, but it's become a crutch,
Mm,
and they're using it as a way, or they're looking at Flowdesk templates, or they're looking at new Canvas social media graphics, or they're looking at like all the YouTube content that they want to create for their new YouTube channel. They're using it as a crutch to avoid what they perceive as possible discomfort of actually having a real person conversation.
yeah, that's true. And I keep going back to this, but once again, does it come back to skill set? And if I could just go on a little bit of a soapbox here, because I think you can use social media as and you can have you can be social on social media, and you
Sure.
can have conversations. But as a real estate agent, can we not go, hey, I'm available for your referrals?
Oh my God.
Immediate.
Exactly.
That's like the first thing you say. Absolutely not. Please stop doing that. I am on a mission this year for my business to actively get more social on social media. Okay. And so that means that not only am I posting content and showing up in my stories, don't get on my stories today because I haven't been there yet, but that's okay. Um, but I'm engaging, right? I'm commenting. I am not just commenting like, "Oh, nice." Like I'm engaging with thoughtful commentary on something that I truly like or enjoy or am excited about, right? And I'm taking it a step further, and I'm actually messaging every single follower that I can actually message, because if they have a private account, you can't message
If
them.
you're a real estate agent with a private account, you need to get off of Instagram.
Well, that too, yes. But when I am messaging, I'm saying like, "Hey, how are you?" It's a goal of mine to like connect here on social media. Tell me a little bit about yourself. Do you have goals? Like, what are you doing? Like maybe I should send it as a voice note so people can like hear the energy that I'm like sending it with. But I quite literally have a ton of agents that follow me, and I get a response like, "Hey, I'm here for your referral needs." I don't want to refer to you when you send me messages like that. I need to know who you are.
Yeah.
I was like, what does that mean? Like,
Yeah.
what?
Why are people? I don't. You were sending me screenshots of some of the and not just real estate agents, it's other industries too who don't
Right,
know what they're doing.
right.
It's a lost art.
It is.
And I think this is the quickest, easiest way to get yourself into a position to have more opportunities, whether it comes down to real estate opportunities or otherwise. I think
Yeah.
that you're right. I think that your attention is in exactly the right place.
Right. Well, I think if we think about who we are as real estate agents and we talk about getting belly to belly with people and like really having those relationships and those connections, I'm not walking down the street of my neighborhood going, "Hey, I'm your neighborhood real estate agent. Hey." No. It's like, "Hey, how you doing? How's the weather?"
Mhm.
Right? Like, spring break's coming up for us. What what you got going on? Are you guys going to the beach?
Yeah.
You hanging out here? It's it's actually building connection and asking questions and active listening.
Yeah. You know what? You know where I hear this all the time, which is so funny. And no shade to like the agents who ask this stuff. But a lot of times what I'm hearing in the Market Authority Academy is like about referral coaching, right? So and I bring this up because someone's gonna hear that and say, well, Karen Ann, but like at some point people have to know I'm a real estate agent. At some point, I know I'm supposed to ask for the business because you
Mhm.
are, but I don't how do I naturally do that? Like when does it happen in the conversation?
Mhm.
Um, do you want to role play what that actually sounds like a little bit?
Sure.
I didn't have
Yeah,
this plan, but I feel
I
like
know.
I don't think we've ever done it. And I feel like it would be a really interesting exercise to kind of role play what this sounds like in a real conversation, even if it takes a couple of minutes to get there.
Okay, let's do it.
Do you want to be the agent or the neighbor?
I absolutely want to be the neighbor
You want
because
to?
you are so much better.
You're gonna put me in the hot seat. It's okay.
I
But
am.
I
But
suggested it, so I can take it.
you have a way, and I mean, not that I can't do it, right? But you have a way of getting there so naturally, and I think that anyone listening would benefit more from hearing you than from hearing me. Not that I couldn't do it because I definitely do it all the time in my own business. I don't know. You just have this like magic about you when you do it. So yes, please.
Well, I've done it a lot. It's not,
Yes.
I've just done the same thing. And I think part of it too is I get to practice almost every week on the coaching calls when I'm
Right.
teaching agents through it too.
Right.
So kudos to the agents who ask the questions and force us to have these conversations to figure out what it actually looks like. Okay. So let's say we're going on our hot mom walk and we cross by and we're like, oh, hey neighbor, hi. Hey neighbor, how's it
Hey.
going? Good to see you.
Hey friend, how are you?
Good, good. Just trying to get a walk in, taking a little break from work. I mean, the sun is shining. It's a beautiful day. How are things with you?
Things are good. You're right though, like trying to get it all in is so hard. But I'm loving the sunshine. So I'm trying to get out more, but like we're at the ball field every night and we just are doing a million things. I'm sure you know.
What are you doing? What are you doing recently? Like, what are you doing at the I have kids, so I'm always trying to figure out like what's the cool thing to do in the neighborhood.
Yeah. Well, both of my kids, one of them is like really super into sports. So any chance we get, we have like a pickup game in our front yard. Y'all come anytime, even if your kids aren't big enough. They love a cheering squad. And then my oldest is really into like musical theater and band. And so spring is the time for the play. We've just been so busy. We've kind of feel a little stretched thin, you know?
Oh my gosh. Okay. So, I mean, spring in Phoenix. I'm in Phoenix. I know you're not. Spring in Phoenix is always like that time for me too. Cause like I feel like, and you're probably doing the same. We're all trying to get everything in while the weather is nice, right? I don't know if you saw, but there is a neighborhood Easter event that's happening at the park. Did you see that that's going on?
Oh, I didn't. Where can I find that?
It might be fun for you guys, especially it'll be fun. So it's the neighborhood event. They do it at the park right there. They have an egg hunt for the kids, but they also have some activities for older kids too. And they always have food trucks, which is really nice. And you know what I saw people doing last year is they got some blankets and stretched it out under the trees and just kind of relaxed in the shade. I feel like you guys need a plan to go and spend at least 30 minutes just enjoying the sunshine, get some lemonade, and have some chill time. I challenge you. You should do it.
That sounds amazing, actually, honestly.
It'll be
Yeah.
great. I know. I don't know if you knew this. I'm a real estate agent. So I I've been looking forward to it too, but we actually have to run a booth there.
Oh my
And
God.
so we do the sponsorship, which is why I'm trying to like, mentioning it.
Mhm.
But we do a booth there where we kind of set up and we make sure everybody comes by. And it's always really fun just to kind of see the neighbors and just see what everyone's going on. And I feel like you always have really interesting conversations with people as they pass by too.
Yeah, absolutely. That sounds like maybe a lot of work, but like what is tell me a little bit about the market because it sort of feels doomy gloomy out there with all the headlines.
Well, and you guys, I know it probably feels that way because you guys purchased here a couple of years ago, right? Or how long have you been in the neighborhood?
Yeah, we actually purchased in 2021.
You okay. Oh boy. So you're still recovering from the frenzy market of 2021, right?
Yeah, and I'm kind of like worried too. Like I feel like I bought it at the like height of the market and I have the good interest rates, so I'm not
Mhm.
going anywhere for a long time.
Well, even if you did choose to go somewhere, at least you probably also have a lot of equity built in, which means you can sell your home for a lot more and you can do stuff with that money. So, like what we're seeing with our clients right now is people are still selling their home with that 2.5% interest rate, and they're still making it a strategic move forward. And what a lot of my clients are feeling, and so now what I'm going to do, guys, this is Stephanie aside. We've had the niceties, we've had the real person conversation, and now it's naturally segueing to real estate. And I kind of opened the door And since Karen Ann is bringing me there, what I'm now doing during referral coaching is I'm helping Karen Ann understand who I work with and what specifically I do for them beyond opening doors. That's really important. Okay. So what I do, Karen Ann, is I really love working with buyers and sellers, right? Like a lot of people assume real estate agents are just working with one or the other, but most of us work with both. But the question is like the market, because the market feels kind of crazy. And what's interesting is the market feels to me like it did like 10 years ago when I got into the business. So now I'm building credibility. I've been in the business for 10 years. Like I've seen a couple different market shifts. This doesn't scare me. Okay. And actually, I might even say that. And I've been in the business for 10 years. Like I've seen market shifts. This doesn't really scare me. What this feels like is honestly a more balanced market, or a market that's more favorable to buyers in a lot of situations, right? So, what that means is, say you were going to purchase a home again, you wouldn't have to deal with the multiple offer situation that you dealt with in 2021. Like, do you remember having a multiple offer situation, or did you have to pay over asking? Like, how did that feel for you?
Yes, I did have to
Sorry
deal
if
with.
I'm triggering you with that,
Oh,
right?
it was so bad, but you're making it seem like it's not so bad, and I just keep kind of seeing the headlines that, like, we're on our way to a crash, but you seem to think that, no, we're not gonna see that same thing?
I like to say I left my crystal ball in real estate school, right? And the interesting thing, the interesting thing about real estate is it's not like you're going out and buying a pair of Lululemon leggings. And in a recession, maybe instead of buying Lululemon, you're going to just go buy Old Navy, right? Like you're going to pinch your costs elsewhere. This is housing, right? And like people are always going to need to buy or sell. And so my job is to help them make that a strategic move forward. And a lot of people, if they are in that position to sell that 2.5% home and buy a new one, then what they're thinking is, how do I not make a step back?
Yeah,
How do I make sure that it still feels like a win?
yeah,
And the people who are having to buy or sell right now, they are making that decision because they literally have to in a lot of ways. So they're relocating for work. And now what I'm doing is educating Karen Ann on what to look for and who to refer me. So they're relocating for work, or they have that third or fourth baby and like they have absolutely outgrown the starter home. It's not feasible to stay. And their life has evolved. Their house is not. And sometimes the 2.5% interest rate is not enough to keep them there. And so what I do is I help them figure out ways to still make an affordable home purchase that feels like a step up, utilize the equity that they've built into their home wisely, meaning you're going to sell your home for a lot more money than you bought it with. What are we doing with that profit? Let's be really strategic so that you can pay off debt, you can build in investments, which is a perfect thing to do when the market is down, because now is when you want to be buying, when, you know, the stock market is down, if that's something that they're looking at. Because side note, my ideal clients care about investing like in the stock market, and be able to purchase a home that's within their means and still feels like a step up. Like that's really what I'm looking to focus on. And honestly, like just because you asked, Karen Ann, I'm wanting to do that with like 12 families in this neighborhood alone this year. So if I could do that and help 12 families do that, I feel like I will have had a really meaningful year in real estate.
that's incredible. That makes me have so much hope for the market and for my house if I did decide that I wanted to sell. But it sounds like you are, um, it sounds like you're really invested in what you do.
Well, I mean, it's so much more than just a home sale. You know, like this is people's life, and I want to be a real estate agent who's there for the entire journey, like your entire home ownership journey. So like now that I've shared a little bit about that, and this is where I go in for the ask. So like knowing that, would you feel comfortable connecting me with anyone who feels like they're in that world where they need a real estate agent who cares about more than just a transaction?
Absolutely. Yes.
Oh my gosh, awesome. Can I share? Indulge me. Can I share a little bit of what it looks like when you refer? Because I know a lot of times people are open to referring, but they don't know what happens or they don't know how to actually make that connection.
Oh, yes, of course.
Okay. Like just
Yeah.
quickly. So what happens is a lot of times like they just kind of people just throw my name out there. And
Mhm.
then because there's not like a warm connection, the information gets lost, or like the person they're referring forgets, and then they get tied up with a realtor who just doesn't care, and then I feel bad. So what that looks like to me, what getting a referral looks like to me, is you can always have them follow me on Instagram. That's like a really good way, because then they can see that I'm a real person and they can see what I'm working on. And I have a link to where they can book a call with me directly from there. But even better is if you ever feel comfortable enough, you can just connect us on a group text, which that actually reminds me, I don't think I have your number. So we should definitely exchange numbers, just at the very least, so that we can stay in touch, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
Right. So I might go into more detail on what that connection looks like, what that referral looks like. But how do you feel from your point of view, how this conversation just went? And obviously, this took a little longer. This took about probably, what do you think, like 13 minutes to actually get there and land the plane?
Yeah. Well, that's because I'm a talker.
I am
Uh,
too, though. And anyone I have a conversation with, though, it feels like that. You're not just like having a punch list conversation. You're,
yeah. Yeah, I think that felt really good. I I felt like I really trusted you. I mean, I know you, but, like, it didn't feel rushed. It didn't feel dirty or slimy.
Mhm.
It was a nice segue, like, I did enough talking that I was like, "Oh, you're in real estate. You talk now." Like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I've been saying all these things." And when you talked about it, it wasn't headlines. You reassured me that it was all gonna be okay. And because I know what you were doing, I can speak to this, but you really segued the conversation into, like, a safe place that I didn't feel like I had to buy or sell.
Right.
You weren't
Right.
even, like you were not even remotely asking me to do anything,
Hmm.
until you asked about potentially referring someone that, like, "Hey, if that came up, this is who I'm looking for." I felt so comfortable to say yes, you know? It's a no-brainer. Of
Yeah.
course, it's easy to do that, and I'm thinking I'm, like, over here I'm over here in Georgia rattling my brain, like, "Who could I send her to?" Like, "Who could
Yeah.
I connect her with?" Because people wanna help,
They
like
do. I think we underestimate how much people want to help.
Yeah.
I think that real estate agents don't understand that the public assumes that you should be writing offers every single month. They
Mhm.
assume you're literally selling 5 or 10 houses a month. And if you hit them with I actually have a really ambitious goal and I'm hoping to sell 10 homes this year, they might hear that and think, like, in the back of their mind, like, only 10? And they might even ask about that. Like, well, how many homes does the average realtor send or sell? And you could say, like, well, actually, last year, more than 50% didn't sell a home at all.
Yeah.
And there's a little bit of this education piece where we assume people know how to refer. We assume people understand what's expected in real estate. And if
Mhm.
you can just take a minute to ask a few questions and
Mhm.
maybe share a little bit more other than like, hello, I'm a real estate agent and you can send me your referral, then we can actually get to a much more meaningful place much faster.
Right. Well, and here's the thing. Here's the other thing is the public also gives us so many opportunities. And
Oh
it's so
yeah.
funny that you I'm like over here thinking yesterday, I had to pay the lawn guy
Hmm.
and I kind of like missed him. And so he called me and I was like, yeah, I'll be there in 5 minutes, and
Yeah.
he knows that I'm a real estate agent. And he gets out of his truck and he goes, "Did you sell any houses today?" That was the opportunity right there
Yeah.
to say, yeah, I did. Or, hey, things are definitely picking up in the market. I've got some big goals. Like that was the opportunity. I didn't even have to get to like go through the fluff.
No.
I could have just gone right in and I didn't. Now I'm mad at myself.
Well,
It's
how
like,
many times do people do that though? How many times do real estate agents assume that they have to look a certain way? And so you know what they say, "Oh yeah, busy, busy, busy."
Mhm,
And you have taken away an opportunity for someone to help you. Whereas what if instead of busy, 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 which is what I mean, I was the busy realtor I
mhm,
was all like that was my go-to because I was so insecure in my future in real estate, that I wanted people to really think that I was successful in doing all the right things for years when I got into real estate. And then when I finally understood that I needed their help and accepted their help, if we heard anything like, well, how's the market? We would say, you know what? It's really slow.
Mhm.
Like this year has gotten off to a really slow start. And, I think a lot of people are just kind of like confused by the headlines, and they're feeling a little nervous on what they're seeing in the market, and they're not sure what to expect. And so, what I'm really trying to do is just make sure that I'm having more of those conversations with people so that they feel a little bit more empowered to ask questions or to dream about what their next step might look like without feeling like they have to commit to me right then and there.
Yeah.
And then suddenly you can actually have a referral coaching conversation and be really intentional about that. But if you're just like busy, 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 you lose the opportunity for anything meaningful beyond that.
Yeah. Well, and there's like a really key component here to all of this, and it is practice. It is those belly to belly conversations. It is fumbling through it, calling yourself out while fumbling through it. It's
Yep.
totally fine. Like I say it all the time. Where's my brain today?
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I forgot this. It's the same thing. Like, but knowing who you are looking to connect with, how many people you're looking to serve, and practicing that in the mirror, practice it on your phone, like
Hmm.
literally talk to yourself in your phone, and then you've got like content. Here I go.
Yeah.
Here I go.
Well,
Uh,
and that was what I was going to just say too, because that messaging needs to be everywhere.
mhm,
If you are doing any kind of flow desk stuff with newsletter stuff or emails, that messaging needs to be in every single email message.
yeah.
If you're creating content on Instagram, that is the content. Like
Mhm,
you don't have to come up with content.
mhm,
Content is never the problem. Like it's the same message over and over again, packaged differently, or it's going to change naturally as the market changes, because the market is constantly changing. And I think that that's where we do a really good job of meeting real estate agents where they're at in the Market Authority Academy. So shameless plug, if you're hearing this conversation and you're like, this actually makes a lot of sense and I think this is a key area where I'm missing out, even though I have 10 years in business, even though it should feel easy by now, even though I feel like I should be further, this could be the exact key that's missing. And it's
mhm,
one of the first things that we do in the Market Authority Academy is we set agents up with the skills that they need in this exact space when it comes to messaging, so that
mhm.
systems are then in place and they can actually execute with ease and implement workflows that allow their business to continue to grow.
Right. You couldn't have said it better. I love that. But it's true. I mean, I we just had a coaching call, and I mean, the amount of stories that come out of each and every coaching call that's like, "Hey, I've been doing this for 2 years. I've been with Market Authority for 2 years, and, I've implemented these little systems over time, and now I mean, we just heard from someone today that was like, "And now I have agents that are working under me, and I have all of my templates set up, and all of my conversations are, like, ready to go so that I can go out there and show up as myself, and social media has gotten easier because I know what I'm saying and I know what the message is, and I just am now teaching the agents that I've started a team with
Hmm.
how to do this. It's like a
Yeah.
trickle effect. It's amazing.
Yeah. And she's thriving in 2025
Yeah.
when agents are like feeling uncertain and feeling scared, right?
Yeah.
And I just think it's like wherever you are in the journey, you have to kind of meet yourself where you're at. And you have to just look at like, what's that next piece that's missing?
Yeah.
Karen Ann, I could talk to you for hours. I
Mhm.
really appreciate the conversation. Just as we're wrapping up, is there anything you want to leave the audience with today? Any parting words?
Ooh, I didn't think of that. I think that if I could say anything to anyone, it would be to I think it would be to just like authentically be you, whether that is someone who thrives with um, type A personality, right? Or someone that's like in between. You bring something special to the table, and you can mold that and build that into your business. And yes, you're a real estate agent. And yes, there's a million other real estate agents in your market, right? But you are uniquely you, and you can bring every bit of yourself into your business and into your interactions and into your relationships. And I think it's really special when you do that.
I love that. And I
I
couldn't
hope that
agree
was
more.
I hope that was good, but I was yeah, like I think that's the overarching message is like show up, smile at people, be nice. Like we don't smile at each other enough, and I live in the South, okay?
Where good manners are expected.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
I think 2025 is going to give us a lot of opportunities to continue to learn and implement and just kind of honestly an opportunity to enjoy the ride in this new chapter in real estate. So if you've listened to this and you've enjoyed the conversation, please follow Karen Ann on Instagram. Be sure to add this podcast to your favorites or follow us here on YouTube if that's where you're watching. And Karen Ann, thank you so much for joining me today. I had a great conversation with you, and we'll have to do it again. And if you do want a chapter 2 to this conversation, leave a comment on this video or send us a DM if you'd like us to continue this and have a follow up, because always a great conversation with you, Karen Ann.
Always. Always. I know. I love it. Thank you for having me.
Thanks.